In this video, we will discuss 7 gardening practices. You've already taken the first step towards sustainability if you grow your own vegetables. Vegetable gardening is infinitely more sustainable than grocery store produce. It consumes far fewer resources and has a significantly lower carbon footprint. Small-scale gardening is also less harmful to the environment because it uses fewer chemicals and fewer resources, such as water. Congratulations, you've already become an environmental and health advocate by growing your own food. Number 1. Eliminate chemical. When you have a problem with pests or diseases in your garden, there is a large corporation waiting to make a massive profit off of your problem. These chemicals are so simple to obtain. There are numerous options, and they work. However, the price we pay is not only monetary. We are drawn to these chemical solutions because they are both easily accessible and quick. Many of them, unfortunately, also pollute our soil, waterways, wildlife, and crops. We must retrain our minds to deal with pests, infestations, and diseases. The quickest solution isn't always the best, and the long-term consequences are just as important as the short-term results. Fertilizers and pesticides leach into the ground, affecting not only this year's crops, but also future crops. Number 2. Start a compost pile. Compost piles convert waste that would otherwise go to the landfill into a valuable nutrient-dense material that our gardens love. A compost pile not only reduces waste, but it also revitalizes worn-out soil. Waste is transformed into riches with a compost pile, and we all benefit. When we grow vegetables and flowers in our gardens, the plants extract nutrients from the soil in order to grow. The soil depletes over time due to excessive use, and it does not renew quickly on its own, especially because gardening is an intensive removal of nutrients at one time. Compost, also known as black gold, is a simple and inexpensive way to rebuild the soil so that we can continue growing in the same places. Compost is a natural fertilizer, and using it reduces our reliance on chemical fertilizers. There are numerous composting options, ranging from small apartment compost bins to large 3-berth pile structures for farms. There is no reason not to compost. It is free and repurposes waste that you would otherwise have to pay to dispose of in a landfill. Number 3. Conserve water. Water is used extensively in vegetable and flower gardens, and our water supply is finite. If you live in a water-rich area, this may appear to be a waste of time. Those who live in hot climates or in water-stressed areas, on the other hand, understand the value of water and what even a minor drought can do to a garden. There are numerous simple ways to conserve water. The most basic method is to use rain catchment systems, which use barrels to collect free water from the sky when it rains. It can be saved for later use and requires little effort on your part to install. Rain catchment systems are also excellent for preventing water from evaporating and becoming waste. There is some debate about collecting rainwater in certain areas, so check the codes in your town or state. On the other hand, some states provide incentives for homeowners to harvest rainwater, which is useful to know. A second simple way to save water is to stop using sprinkler systems. If you've ever used one to water your garden, you know how much water is wasted. Because the garden cannot absorb so much water at once, it runs off the side and is essentially wasted. If you pay for your water usage, this isn't just a waste of water. It's also a huge waste of money. Consider drip irrigation systems, which are far more effective and efficient. A rain garden is another innovative and effective way to collect free water while minimizing the impact on your water systems. Rain gardens are collections of native shrubs, flowers, and perennials planted in a small depression to collect rainwater and prevent runoff. You might not have considered how much water runs off your property from the roof, driveway, or lawn, but it is usually quite substantial. These impermeable man-made surfaces prevent the ground from absorbing water as efficiently as Mother Nature intended, disrupting the ecosystem. Rain gardens naturally filter contaminants and pollutants from the water source, allowing more to soak into the ground. Number 4. Plant native. Non-native species typically require more water, effort, and nutrients than native species, resulting in a greater overall resource use. The best option for creating a more sustainable landscape is to plant native species. Native species not only use fewer resources, but they also attract more native pollinators, providing them with shelter and food. This is a win-win situation for both our vegetable and flower gardens. Native plants are more drought-tolerant, which means they require less water. Furthermore, many native species are self-sufficient in your environment. Number 5. Stop tilling. Few practices are more damaging to the garden than regular soil tilling. The no-till methodology is gaining popularity and acceptance, and it can't come soon enough. Tilling literally destroys the earth in multiple ways. Tilling destroys natural soil structure, resulting in compacted, dense soil that is difficult to cultivate. When exposed to the sun's heat, microbes that are essential for healthy soil die, while earthworms are cut up and injured by the tiller's blades. Tilling also decreases the soil's ability to retain moisture, resulting in hard crusts on the garden surface, resulting in rain runoff, wasted watering, and erosion. In addition to killing microbes and earthworms, tilling brings weed seeds from deep underground all the way up to the garden surface, where they are more likely to sprout. Tilling causes more weeds in the garden, which is never a good thing. Tilling is sometimes required, such as when starting a garden from scratch and need to break up the soil. However, it should be done only on these few occasions and not on a yearly basis. Mulching, crop rotation, and compost are used in no-till gardens to build up the soil and keep it alive. Only the areas that will be planted are dug up, usually by hand. The entire garden does not need to be plowed in order to plant. Pathways between rows and walkways should not be disturbed in any way. Tilling or plowing reduces the work of planting every year, if you have a particularly large garden area. However, the cost of reduced crop production due to unhealthy soil and extensive weed issues is quite high. If you must till, limit it to the areas where you are physically planting and be mindful of the consequences. To compensate for nutrient loss, add tons of compost, grow cover crops, and mulch liberally. The strange thing about no-till is that it actually saves time in the long run. Tilling the land appears to make things easier at first, but when you factor in the extra time required to fortify the soil and deal with weeds, as well as the reduced production, it's not a good trade-off. Tilling, according to the USDA, is the equivalent of an earthquake, hurricane, tornado, and forest fire occurring simultaneously in the world of soil organisms. Number 6. Reuse and repurpose. Instead of throwing away used materials, consider whether they can be repurposed in the garden. Not everything will be reusable, but you might be surprised at how many things can be. Old lumber can be used to build a fence or the foundation for a raised bed garden. Broken or imperfect bricks can be reused to make walkways, garden bed edging, or row markers. We've seen some amazing bird baths and fireplaces made from scrap bricks. Number 7. Mulch. Mulching is one of the simplest methods to implement right away and has numerous advantages. Mulch helps to conserve water by reducing evaporation. It also keeps weeds at bay, which is always a gardener's goal, and it's great for reducing workload. When vegetables are protected from temperature swings by a layer of mulch, they grow much stronger and happier. Mulching is also an excellent way to recycle waste materials, as lawn clippings, fallen leaves, straw, sawdust, and wood chips all make excellent mulch. If not reused as mulch, these resources frequently end up in the landfill. Another significant advantage of mulch is that it adds nutrients to the soil as it decomposes. Mulching can also help to prevent erosion and is an important part of landscape restoration.